All right, guys, how's it going? Eastbayanglers here. Today, we're talking all about stripers. We're talking about striper fishing. We're talking about striped bass fishing. Now, in general, I just have to carry a jig. And specifically, when I say a jig, I'm talking about a hair jig. I'm talking about bucktail. And we're talking 3 to 5 inches in length, okay? That's just the magic, that's the magic range right there. Everything from small bait fish all the way to larger shad and stuff like that. So I cannot go out fishing for stripers without a couple bucktail jigs that are, usually in shad patterns, white, things of that nature, white and chartreuse. I gotta tell you guys, it doesn't matter what time of the year you're fishing, a hair jig is going to catch. You just have to know, whether the fish, okay, it's summer, they're probably deeper. It's fall, it's spring, they're shallow. Winter, I like to cover all water. I just like to cover them because sometimes they're moving with bait fish, or in general, it just depends what's in the fishery that you're fishing, because certain things aren't active in the winter and certain things are. So we're going to talk today specifically about Del Valle. Now, Del Valle is a tough little fishery, and I have gone out there a lot of times, and these stripers tend to destroy baits. So if you're throwing jerk baits, if you're throwing lipless crankbaits and topwater baits that are expensive, sometimes you can get a few striper and, your bait's looking real beat up after a couple. And, the more you catch, that bait pretty much gets destroyed pretty fast. The bigger the fish, the faster your baits are getting destroyed. And a lot of times, when that happens, you're looking for activity on the surface of the water, just not boils, but any type of activity where there's bait fish. There's generally going to be stripers nearby where there's the food. So, when you're at Del Valle, I like to throw hair jigs, especially because there's not very much structure. So there's not a lot of laydowns, not as many snag ups as you'd think. That open hook, real good hook setups. And we talked about colors. Some of the sizes I like to focus on are going to be 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce, 3/8 ounce, 1/2, 5/8, 3/4, and 1 ounce. Some people like to go heavier. I like to stop at 1 ounce, but going even bigger wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. I just prefer that cutoff right there at the 1 ounce. So we're talking about catching quality, we're talking about catching quantity, and we're talking about an all year round bait. Fishes well all year. Now, obviously, you're going to want to fish it slower in the winter, colder water. Sometimes you're going to play around with that, though. So it's just general rule of thumb, start out slow in the winter, and if you're not going to get bit, you can try to be more aggressive with it. But in the warmer water conditions, definitely going to want to move it faster, try to get more of a reaction bite out of these stripers. And another thing to consider is that when you're at the back end of Del Valle, there's a lot of points throughout the entire lake, but on the back end toward the dam and stuff, there's a lot of points, and those points don't have any structure. It's just a great area to throw a hair jig, grind a crankbait on the bottom, do some really cool different things. But we're talking about the hair jig because you can catch dozens and dozens of striper on the hair jig at Del Valle or anywhere, and you're not going to really, yeah, your bucktail is going to get somewhat razzled. No, it's going to get roughed up, but it's going to be fine. It'll still catch. And at the end of the day, you don't pay anything close for a hair jig as you would for a lot of the topwater baits, the jerk baits that are on the market, a lot of the baits that are lipless crankbaits on the market. It's like LV 500s are not cheap. So swim baits, that's another thing that gets a lot of big striper. But if you know, if you're throwing soft plastic swim baits, you're going through a lot of baits. And so the bucktail does the job. A lot of people ignore it because it's old school. I'll tell you a little story, fun fact. 1960s came and everybody jumped on plastics. They, you know, hit the market and everybody liked it. But before that, bucktail ran the scene, and, you know, it was dominating the market. And keep this in mind, 110 years to 120 years prior to plastics in the 1960s becoming the dominant bait, it was pork. So it was bucktail, pork, and a variety of other natural feathers and such. I hope this video, you know, helps you guys. If you're going out to Del Valle Lake and you're going out there and, you know, you're trying to figure out what do I throw, this is definitely going to be something that's going to be, like we talked about, all year long. It works. And, you know, you can cover a lot of water with it. And sometimes, you know, when you get those fish when they're active, you're gonna pick up a lot of fish fast. You're gonna get a bunch of fish back to back, and then it might die off. And that's generally just because, you know, there's schools of striper moving around. And this also is one of those baits that really allows you to target stripers on the bottom, as well as work it higher in the water column. So I'm pretty much, I'm ready to, I guess, end the video. I think that's just about everything. I mean, make sure when you're fishing your bucktail jigs, you're going heavy with your line. I really don't like running anything less than 15 to 20 pound main line on that. I like to just keep it simple, heavy, fluorocarbon. Sometimes you can get away with copolymer coated fluorocarbon, or coated copolymer with fluorocarbon. But in general, guys, that's about the only thing you really need to know. Don't make the mistake of going out there with hair jigs that are not designed to handle giant big game fish, because otherwise you're going to have one of these bend out on you unless you have your drag set. So I hope this helps, guys. Stay tuned, catch more stripers, watch more, and hopefully get on a big one.